Hello, everybody. We are starting our IT and business class. Today is June 22nd, 2021, and this is the first class in a series of 8 for this course this summer for IT and business. We are running in what we call an 8-week condensed format for IT and business, meaning it is shortened compared to a regular offering of this during a regular semester. I know some of you are aware of that and signed up for the section on purpose, and some of you maybe not. Maybe you didn't realize that it was a condensed version. But in essence, what this means for us is that we will be operating at roughly twice the speed that we would normally operate during a regular semester in this course. I don't want that to freak you out though, because the volume of work that we have is very manageable if you stay on top of it. And a lot of it we're actually going to try to complete during class time. And that's kind of my way of helping you along with the process. And there's a lot to be learned by doing work collectively. In fact, when you think of the word college as a word which stems from Latin, it means to learn together. And you know what? Studies have proven time and time again that people who study together and work together to learn tend to retain the information a whole lot better than people that don't. Some people do fine working asynchronously. So most of the people that will watch this video are the students in the strictly online section, which are not required to come to Zoom. But I say this message to those people right now: you are always welcome to come to class anytime it's convenient for you, even if you just stop in for a little bit, because some people do struggle when they work on their own. So if you're just sitting there reading a book and doing homework and maybe not even watching these videos, you might feel very isolated and have questions, and then the questions become kind of a challenge to be answered, especially if you're brand new to the system. So I'm going to begin by looking at our syllabus. So this is a thing that we are required to do in educational institutions. We go through the syllabus, which is, I think of it as kind of an informal contract on what you are about to learn and what we are about to do, and all the methodologies and policies that we use in process of doing this, so that you're aware. I am going to switch back to a screen sharing mode here. So we did have some faces on the screen there for a second. But here we go, folks. You should be able to see my screen now, and I am on the home page here for our course shell IT and business. I do run things a little bit differently. Many instructors here at Gateway use the default settings for Blackboard, which is absolutely fine, and there's no harm in that. But most default settings for Blackboard land you on an announcements page, such as the one I just clicked on. And for me, that doesn't work. From a web design standpoint, being a web designer by trade, I don't like that. And the truth is, anything that I put into this announcement area, you guys will recognize all the emails that I sent you here. They're listed. Every time I post something in announcements, you will get it in your Gateway email account. So it becomes very, very critical that you guys are checking that Gateway email account often. I'm going to say that you should check it every day. That's kind of my suggestion to you, because you don't know if your teachers or your classmates or the school is trying to reach you in some way. But if I try to contact you, that is the number one primary way I will reach you, is via email. I am going to jump over to the syllabus, instructor info, and course calendar page, and you should see that on your left sidebar here. And the syllabus is where we begin just about every course. So once you get into that area on the screen, you will notice right at the top of the page, the syllabus is listed, and right here there is a document linked up so that you can either download the document to your computer if you wish to save it. Some people even go to the trouble of printing it. But I'm going to pull it up on screen and talk through the document so you understand it fully. If you are brand new to Gateway, I would say that this is very important that you pay close attention, because this is where I set forth, all the expectations and policies that we're going to follow. And they are in written form, so you can always refer back to it. Some instructors will put significant detail in their syllabus. I tend to not be one of those people, although there is a lot of detail relative to how I grade you, late work policies, exams, quizzes, grading, and all that stuff. And I think those things are really important to understand, because there's no better way to get an A in a class than to understand what your instructor is looking for and provide exactly that, because they are asking for something for a reason. It's not for no reason at all. And that reason is basically hopefully that you learn something and incorporate it, into your professional life. All right, so I'm going to bring the syllabus up on the screen, and I will zoom in to try to get it as big as I can. I will give you one handy tip. I know that everybody here might be using different types of computer systems, different types of screens. Some people might even be on a phone. And I'm going to kind of just in general tell you that the best way to participate in the Zoom session and really to do any of your IT homework is really to have a proper, full-blown computer system. I do get people that attend the Zoom sessions, for example, using their phone, but right next to them is a full PC that they're using. That's absolutely fine if that's what you're doing. My preference would be that you're doing both on the same system, because if you're running Zoom on, let's say, your laptop and you're online with us and doing work, if we need, we can look at your computer screen and help you through a problem, or you can share your screen to show us something cool. So my recommendation for you for this class as we get started, and we will talk about hardware recommendations is really the proper way to say it, as we get rolling. But for most of our IT people, we strongly recommend that you have a Windows-based computer system. Yes, you can do the work with a Mac or a Linux machine. That's fine as well. But as you dig really deep into your IT program, like if you're going into networking or programming or something like that, you pretty much need to have a Windows-based PC to do some of the work. That won't be necessarily true in this class, because about the most complicated thing that we will create, are Word documents, in this class, and PowerPoints. But the concepts that we talk about really extend to all the different platforms. All right, so let's get to the nitty-gritty of the course here. So you can see we are called IT and Business, and we are in the summer semester of 2021. We are running two different sections of this in what we call a stack. And this is very common for IT classes, by the way, where we run what we call a face-to-face section. And normally, if we didn't have the pandemic, we would be sitting probably in the Racine campus on the third floor of the technical building, maybe even overlooking Lake Michigan, having this class together in the same room. So we would be, right there together. During the pandemic, most of our instruction switched to Zoom-based sessions. But the thing that Gateway has always done in the IT fields, where we are considered as very cutting edge in this regard, is we have fully online offerings too. So whenever you see one of these sections, and very typically the numbering is the same, but with the 1W7A section of this is our fully online section that is paired with the 1WYA. So the 1WYA is the Zoom replacement for face-to-face. 1W7A is the fully online version. And what that really means is the people that sign up for that class will have access to the same course shell. They get all the same assignments, but they don't have to come to class. Now, for some people, that's like, well, that's great. Maybe I should have signed up for that. Okay. And I realize some people sign up for it really because of, as we were mentioning before, they got work, they got kids, they got, responsibilities, and at that time it just doesn't work for them. And so it gives them a way to still participate in class without the meeting. But as I was mentioning before, for many people, the interaction between human beings in a learning environment is critical to actually learning. Because I might be speaking something and your classmate, like, what did he say? He said this, right? And then you don't have to stop the class to ask the question. It's just like tiny little pieces like that. The other thing that a lot of people don't think about is you walk into a classroom environment and you're taking a class sometimes with people kind of already know the material because they're either doing it professionally already and they're just here to get the degree. And sometimes those people bring in invaluable information fresh from the field. And so sometimes you learn a lot from your classmates. And we do get a lot of people that are like that. So you're going to see people in the classes that are anywhere from high school aged all the way up to older than myself, on the sunset of their careers, coming to school to learn new skills. And all those people have different experiences that are valuable. So even young people have different IT experiences than older people. And you bring those experiences together and you come to, in some cases, a brand new understanding about a topic area that you might have never even imagined before. And I think that's what's really cool about school. That's happened to me many times over, and really was one of the inspirations that I had in studying with really cool people. And I'm like, wow, this is awesome stuff. I want more, I want more of this, because it intrigues you naturally. And when you are naturally intrigued about something, man, there's nothing better. You're following your passion, and that to me is important. This course is worth 3 credits, and most of our associate's degree and technical diploma programs here usually require about a little over 60 credits to earn an associate's degree. And I realize some of you are here for the associate's degree in whatever you're studying. Some are here for your technical diploma, which is a 1-year degree. And some people are here even for certificates, or are taking this as an elective as part of another degree program. So I was looking through my roster and I noticed I had at least one person from like business management, that's their degree. So why are they taking IT and business? Well, look at the title, it fits, right? And it's not going to harm them any to know a little bit of IT as they go into a business management role. In fact, it's going to help them immensely. All right, so if you are in the 1WYA section, and this is something that would be listed right in your Blackboard slide, so you can actually go to Blackboard, look at your course list, and you can see, the section number is the last 4 digits. So if you are in the 1WYA section, that means you are technically required to come to the Zoom session every week. Attendance is required just as if we were sitting in the classroom. Now, I'm a practical person, and I realize sometimes people have things that happen in their life and you maybe will miss a session. But I want to remind you, we're running an 8-week version of this course here. And because of that, each class session is kind of worth 2, right? Now, I don't grade you on attendance. If you miss a class, you're not really going to miss out, but I do grade on participation. So if you miss a class, there are ways that you can kind of make up the fact that you weren't there. One would be to watch a video like the one I'm recording right now. So if you miss class, you can hop on later, watch the video, and kind of pretend like you were there and pick up all the same materials. That's just an example. But the 1W7A people are not required to come to class, but once again, I'll give the open invitation. You're always welcome to join us. And I would encourage it, and in some cases, especially if you're feeling disconnected, come to a couple of sessions, meet your classmates, meet me, ask me questions, and sometimes even one meeting is enough to kind of turn the corner and make you feel connected. So I think that's very important. Interestingly, though, in the web program where I primarily teach, most of our students, about 3/4 of our students, are fully online. We never even see them, and in some cases, I don't meet them until they graduate, when they're walking across the stage and we're shaking hands. And I think that's really bizarre, but the modern world really is kind of gearing itself to that. And if the pandemic taught us anything, we can work from home and still be just as effective. And so while it kind of threw everybody off course, it also kind of fast forwarded us, in my opinion, about 10 years into the future in terms of work paradigm. We knew this kind of thing was coming, but then all of a sudden we all had to do it right away. The fun thing for us web people, we were already doing this. So when the pandemic kicked in, it's like, okay, it's Tuesday, we'll just roll with it, no problem. Everybody else in the institution's like, oh my God, I don't know how to teach online. And you can tell I'm pretty comfortable in this format. So I hope you guys are too. Please be yourselves. It's kind of like one thing I always tell my students, because who else can you be better than yourself, right? All right. The format, the instructional delivery method here, they only give me so many boxes I can check, but technically we're online blended video conference. So I got to explain what all those mean. Online means, well, here we are on the internet, but that also covers the asynchronous, the non-meeting portion. Blended refers to the fact that if we were actually in the classroom and the entire class was offered in the classroom, we would actually meet twice a week for 4 hours each time. We would meet 8 hours a week for this class because that's the amount of contact hours that are required. Blended basically refers to the fact that we deliver a course in a combination of face-to-face and online. So even the face-to-face is a partially online offering. And what that really means is there's a segment of the learning that you will be self-responsible for doing on your own in replacement of being in the classroom. And most of that for most people is reading the book and watching the videos. That's typically, or completing the activities. And so the book will be important. And it's important that you get it pretty much right away. If we were operating normally, we would be at the Racine campus. That's where most of the IT programs are centered. We occupy the entire third floor of the technical building at the Racine campus. And I hope someday that maybe this fall, you guys will be on campus. You get to meet me face to face, and I'd be happy to give you a tour and show you all the facilities. What's really cool about Gateway is because we're a technical college and we are funded by the taxpayers of Racine, Walworth, and Kenosha counties, we are very well funded and have very, very cutting edge equipment. In some cases, better than in industry. So like if you walked into a classroom environment and sat down in front of one of our computers, they all have 32 gigs of RAM, a terabyte SSD, like a 9th or 10th gen i7 8-core screaming processor. Probably like puts your machine at home to shame unless you have like a really killer gaming system or something. The one spot where it lacks is probably the video card, but even they're no slouch. Many of our labs also have dual screens. We have our own server racks. It's really, really a cool facility. And when you're in the facility, it's kind of inspiring because you're surrounded by all this stuff and people that are into it. So it's kind of a cool feeling. If you guys need to get a hold of me, this is my contact information. And as I mentioned before we were starting, my primary way of contact and preferred way of contact is through email for a number of different reasons. I do have a phone number here too, but as you guys can tell, I'm teaching from home right now, so I'm not sitting at my desk. So the chances that I will pick up that phone are pretty much nil. I do have software I can have it ring on my laptop, but I'm not a fan of that, as you can imagine, because if you're teaching and whatnot. But if you do leave a voicemail, it will pop up in my email and I will contact you. And if phone is what you prefer, hey, we can do it that way. I have no problem. What is really the modern replacement for phone, though, at least in professional environments, people do this. They Zoom or they use Google Meet or Microsoft Teams or a variety of other different tools. But video calls are the new phone call in the professional environment, by the way. If you do email, the thing that I really like about email is when you compose an email, let's say you have a question for me, you can actually think about what you're going to ask, right? And then phrase it in a way that makes the most sense. And then when I respond, you also have a written response where you can maybe sit there and go, what did he mean by that? Oh, okay, well, here it is written. I forgot what he said. Well, there it is written, right? And we also have a record of the communication, which to me is helpful. I realize that email is not always quick. So the one thing I always warn my students is, especially during the summer, so this is pretty true for me, we often weekend up north or we travel. And sometimes I can't guarantee that I'm online or checking email at all. And this past weekend was a great example because we were up at the cottage, lots of storms and stuff. And the connections were spotty for cellular, frankly. Sometimes we turn on the internet service up north and sometimes we don't. This year we decided not to on purpose, because we all feel like we're too plugged in. So when you email me on the weekends, I might be a little slow to respond. But if I'm around and on the computer, I will, right? But don't email me like Friday night expecting, a response like in 2 minutes. During the business day, especially in the mornings, Monday through Friday, you might be surprised how quickly I respond. It might even scare you a little bit. And if you have an issue, we can always jump on Zoom and solve it. But email is primary communication, and then phone would be secondary. I will never attempt to call you unless there's some extreme reason to, just so you guys know that. So if I ever try to contact you, it will always be email. So it becomes very important to check your email, especially if you're enrolled in other classes. Any announcement I make through Blackboard will go to your email. And the other thing is, any of your other instructors will do the same thing. And if you're not checking that email constantly, you might be putting yourself at a disadvantage. One recommendation I can give you is if, I assume most people have smartphones these days. I think it's kind of almost a given. And whether you're on iOS, an Apple device, or an Android device, and you might even already have a personal Gmail account. Most of you realize Gateway's email runs through the Gmail service. You can actually load multiple Gmail accounts through your Gmail app on your device. So you can look at Gateway email and personal email pretty easily. And I recommend that, so that might not be a bad thing to do. One thing I do not recommend though, and this is, you guys might discover this, they do have an app for Blackboard and some students do use it. But I might suggest that you turn the notifications off, because if I get to the point where I'm like posting a bunch of stuff in the shell, and I'm just warning you, sometimes I do that at like 1 or 2 in the morning if I'm up. And then the last thing you want is your phone dinging like, oh my God, he posted 10 assignments. It's 2 o'clock in the morning and he's waking me up. So you might want to turn off the notification thing, just fair warning. All right. If you ever happen to be on campus, and when we go back to normal, and we do plan to be back to normal in the fall for the most part at Gateway, feel free to stop in my office. If I'm around, you're welcome to come and visit with me. The room is T312. So it's on the 3rd floor, and there's like a western exit there that kind of leads to student services. And my door is right there. And in fact, all the IT faculty have their offices in that room. If the door is closed, knock. Of course, an appointment is usually better, but I will tell you that I don't plan on being on campus a lot this summer. Strangely, though, I actually went to my first in-person meeting on campus about a week ago. Boy, that was weird. That's all I'm going to say. It was a little weird, because I hadn't seen anybody in so long, and normally we would do it on Zoom. But it was also kind of refreshing to go back, So I'm looking forward to when the halls are filled again and everybody's in the classroom, smiling back at me, or hopefully smiling. All right, let's move on to the information about the course now. And here's the course description. I'm just going to read this to you really quick, as cumbersome as that might be. It says, this course is a basic introduction to information technology and how it impacts our lives. It will focus on how IT professionals implement industry tools and applications throughout business. Students will learn proper terminology as well as industry trends and concepts. So you're not going to walk out of this class being a programmer. You're not going to walk out of this class being like a network wizard or a hacker, but you are going to learn a little bit about all aspects of IT, the history of IT, and where it's moving to and what the current issues are. And this type of knowledge is really critical in organizations, as you'll see. The textbook that we're using is one that we've had in use here at Gateway pretty early on, and they just upgraded the edition just recently. So we are in the 8th edition of this book called Intro to Info Systems, Supporting and Transforming Business, with the author being Rainier. And the book is available in a number of different formats. So I'm assuming that you guys have access to this information inside My Gateway and WebAdvisor. But if you do not have the book, fair warning, we move really fast, and we're going to be digging into the book already today because of our offering paradigm. It is really critical that you get it immediately. There is no faster way to buy the book than to get an electronic copy. So when you go to the bookstore, and I don't know what screens you guys see in WebAdvisor, but I'll show you what my screens look like so you guys can see. I'm going into here and I'm going to pull up IT and business. And we're 1WYA, and they have this little link here. And then you guys can get to the same link too from your My Gateway setup on the Gateway website. And it shows the book, and I want you to see like the different options. And they have rental options for this. But you can also get, well, it doesn't look like you can get even paper copies of this anymore. All right, so the bookstore is not offering paper copies. There are paper copies out there, by the way, and I think that the way they do them now is they do not give you a book. They give you a packet of 3-ring or 3-hole punched papers that you put into a binder yourself. In my mind, frankly, I think you're better off just renting a digital copy. Just be, really careful how many days you're renting it for. We're going 8 weeks, so you don't have to rent it for a super long time. I would go with the cheapest option. $39 is not too bad for a textbook, folks. If you're to buy a physical copy of this, this one like pushes $200, by the way. So be thankful that you have digital copies only. The beauty of getting a digital copy is after you pay for it and you do like, all the financial aid stuff, if that's what you're doing, you have instant access to it. You don't have to wait, right? You sign in and there it is. And so highly recommended. We will be reading the book cover to cover, reading the whole darn thing, because there's nothing in there that I consider not important. And we will be having all of our homework pretty much will be based on that book. So if you do not have the book, you're going to be at a significant disadvantage quickly. So buy the book if you're not getting the message here. You can use that ISBN number too, and if you're a smart shopper, and not that I want to push business away from our bookstore, but you can take that ISBN number and put it in your web browser and just search that number, and it will come back with other options for purchasing the book. And right away you can see some people are, there's some interesting prices here, but shop around. Not all providers are equivalent, and go with reputable websites. So I would call Amazon a reputable website if you like to work with Amazon. Let's see what they're charging for it. So the paper copy, this is the paper copy, the ring bound. You can see that's about $130, and then the e-version, that varies, and it looks like the prices are the same as our bookstore, so not much difference, right? But hey, if you're a Prime member and it helps out your account or whatever, hey, go for it. I'm just pointing out that you do not have to get it from the Gateway Bookstore, but you do have to have a copy. I know that when I was a student, we would get shocked, especially when you buy these IT textbooks and you get heavy into materials, and the books are like 3 inches thick and are like $200, $300, $400. You do have some books that are like that. So when you shop smart, if you can get a used copy of a book, or you can get an electronic copy of a book, and it saves you a significant amount of money, my thinking is, why not, right? Keep that money in your pocket and use it for something else. Especially if you're paying out of your own pocket. So if you're not on financial aid, this is, I think, more of a concern. But if you are on financial aid, you can still you can spend your money more wisely, right? So if you can save a bunch of money on your textbooks, you might be able to use your financial aid money to also buy a computer. So, and the bookstore sells those as well, or a tablet or whatever. So just think about that. In terms of required materials for the course, you need to have some sort of a computer with internet access. And I always tell people, I recommend a certain level of computer going into IT, and I'll give you the specs on that when we get into the course shell. But you do want to have a good, stable internet connection. The people that are here in the session with me right now, I can tell you guys are all pretty good with your internet connections, because I don't see any jerky video, and our audio seemed okay, and hopefully I'm doing the same thing. But not all internet is created equal, and there's different tiers of service. If you do run into a problem, and I just want to put this out there, Gateway is there to help. Gateway received a huge grant from the federal government last year when we went into pandemic mode, to provide computers and internet connections to anybody who needs them at no cost. So for example, if you're working in an IT program and you need to do programming, and your computer is a Chromebook, you're going to discover, I can't do any of my work on the Chromebook. I need a real computer, but I don't have a job, and I don't have any money, and I don't have a credit card. I can't get any of that stuff. You contact me. I will contact the school, put in a request on your behalf, and they will give you a laptop with the requirements that we need for IT, which is pretty high, and a cellular Wi-Fi hotspot at no cost. And so if you're in that situation, I just want you to think about that. Sometimes people start out the semester, their stuff is fine, they lose their job, or the laptop gets stolen, or something bad happens, they don't have money. Don't just sit there not doing anything. Let us know. We have the stuff sitting there waiting to come out to you. And the turnaround is really fast. So if we put in a request today, you might even be picking it up this afternoon or this evening or tomorrow. It's like that kind of quick. All right, so we need a computer with good internet access to an Office suite, which is Gateway students. You guys all have free access to both Google Docs and Microsoft Office. file storage, and email. And all of those things are provided for free at no cost to all of our students. And they're all part of our application suite. We will dig into all of those things and explore them throughout the course, by the way. Now, the competencies for a course, by the way, whenever you take a course, this is basically the bulleted list of items that us, the instructors, need to teach you guys. When you walk out of this class at the end of the semester, the thinking is you will have learned these things, right? And so applying IT terminology, so you're going to learn a lot of acronyms, words, definitions that you've never heard of or thought of before, or maybe have but didn't really know what they meant. Classify industry hardware and their functions, identify the functions of operating systems, utilities, and applications, create a presentation using software, identify logical and physical network layouts, differentiate between basic business organizations, explore work function areas of IT, and there are many, identify IT security needs in business, and examine ethical and legal issues in the IT field, of which there are also very many, especially these days. So if you think of that, this is kind of a holistic class, and in many ways, from a university level, I would call this kind of a survey class. We look at a lot of different things and try to look at it from a grand overview. Whatever discipline that you're involved in, so let's say if you're a networking person, this bullet would be of particular interest to you, but when you study networking, you're going to go way deep into that, but that's going to be in your other classes, not here. Here we brush upon it. So it's a lot of brushing over a lot of different stuff and looking how it fits together more so than focusing on any one thing for too long. All right. I'm going to drop down now to the course requirements and policies, and we're going to take a really quick look at this attendance and participation policy. And the first thing I'll tell you is I don't technically grade on attendance. So I don't have like a list where I go, okay, Jonathan's here, Christian's here, Kaylin's here, check. I don't have like a little book. I just kind of notice that you're here or not, and I don't grade you for that, but I do grade on your participation. And of course, you can't really participate if you're not around, right? Or can you? And see, this is the thing about being online. I'm going to argue that you absolutely can, right? So let's say you had to miss class because, your car blew up and you had to take it into the shop. You can watch the video, you can email me, you can keep doing your homework, and still participate. You're still getting the stuff done. So that counts as participation too. Now, I grade on participation, and actually 15% of your course grade ends up being you just coming to class, doing your stuff, and interacting with everybody. And so normally we run our semesters, and this is kind of a long story now, I guess, but we used to run our semesters 15 weeks. And as we went into summer semester, the administration here decided that we're switching to a 14-week format. They're shortening each semester, fall, spring, and summer, by 1 week to give us a little bit more time off in between while still getting the same amount of instruction. So we're squeezing 15 weeks into 14 technically. This class, of course, is an 8-week offering, so we're squeezing 15 into 8, so that's why it's roughly double the speed. But the 15-week thing is based upon 15%. You see a correlation there, right? So basically you would earn 1% of your grade by just coming to class each week and, being awake and smiling at me and maybe laughing at my jokes. Just a helpful tip, that's a good way to earn participation. My jokes are terrible, and I'm not a comedian, by the way. The remainder of your grade, 60% of it is based on your weekly assignments. And on a weekly basis, there's typically going to be 3 tasks you need to complete. One is an article reflection, another is a problem-solving exercise, and another one is a case study. None of them are particularly grueling. And I always tell my students that with a combination of reading and doing the assignments, you can probably crank out the homework for each unit of instruction in usually about an hour. And we're roughly going to cover 2 units per week. So you're looking at about 2 hours of homework a week. And then I would couple it with maybe an hour or 2 of reading per week, and then maybe an hour of watching videos if you're an online person. Well, maybe 4 hours of watching videos if you're watching a 4-hour class, right? Yeah. I'll do the math on that. 25% of your grade is based on quizzes and exams. I'm not a huge fan of testing, and in fact, in most of the classes that I teach, testing is a pretty minimal component because we functionally do IT work and we grade on that. But in this class, we are, basically reading a lot of knowledge and kind of making sure that you retained it. And so there will be 2 quizzes and 2 exams, and the pattern will be, we'll have our first quiz, maybe after next week already, then a midterm exam, then a quiz, and then a final. And the total of all those add up to 25% of your grade. And then collectively you reach 100%. Now, I use kind of a strange grading system, and I'm going to point it out here because it will probably be anomalous compared to some of your other instructors, with the exception of a few IT people. I use what I call a 100-point grading system. So the basic point is there are 100 total points available in the class. And whenever you get an assignment, you look at the assignment and it might be like article reflection, 1 point, or case study, 2 points, something like that. And each one of the points you have in an assignment is directly correlated to 1% of your total grade. So if you decide to not do one of your case studies, which is worth 2 points, well, the best you're going to get in this class is a 98, right? Because you decided not to complete those 2 points, if you see where I'm going with this. And the reason I do that is it becomes very easy to calculate what the impact is of an assignment on where you sit with your grade. Where 1 point on the assignment equals 1% of your grade. It's very, very simple. And our target here for you is to, obviously, I would prefer all of you get an A, right? So earn 94 to 100 points. I also offer extra credit opportunities, a number of different ones, so you can actually exceed 100 points in some cases. But in order to pass this class, and here's the important caveat, and there's a little note here, and have it count for your degree. All right, so there's 2 different things here. If let's say you're a business management student, and I know I have at least one in this class, you can get lower than a C and it will count towards your degree because it's not part of your degree. So you can get a C- and you'd be fine. But if you're an IT student, you must earn at least 74 points in this class. Otherwise, you will have to retake this class again to get to that C level to pass and then have it count towards your degree. And that's really important to know. And that's true for all IT courses in your degrees. So we're not going to teach you, let's say, for example, cybersecurity, and you're a D student, and then put you out in the field and tell people this person knows their stuff, because clearly they don't, or their work ethic isn't very strong. But the important thing is that you reach that C. And here's what I do for everybody. I monitor your grades and I watch your progress. And if I see that you're slipping or falling behind or might not reach that level, I will reach out to you and try to figure something out so you can get up to that level. I'm going to tell you that if you just keep up on your weekly homework, which isn't difficult, right? We're not programming or building networks or anything like that. You will do fine. You will. When you start turning things in late, don't turn them in at all, or completely miss the mark on whatever the homework is, then you're going to see your points diminished. And I will talk about that. But 74% or 74 points total is your goal. Once again, we will have 2 exams and 2 quizzes for the course with varying point values. And if I remember right, the quizzes are 2.5 points, the midterm is 5 points, and the final, I believe, is 10. And that's how we get up to 25. Does that make sense? Or is it 10, 10? I don't know. I'll have to look at the point values. I don't have them memorized, but that should be fairly close. In terms of turning your work in, and so I get this misconception sometimes, especially with people coming straight out of high school, or maybe people that have been in certain university settings where their entire grade is based on their midterm and their final. So the first thing I'm going to clarify is that is not how we operate at Gateway, right? And what we really base your grades upon more so is your weekly work than the tests. The tests are obviously part of it. So you have to, at least do sort of well on your tests to get through the course. But I did have, and I'll give you an example. I had a young lady took one of my courses, and I think it was last summer. She was fresh out of high school, and it might even have been IT and business. And she wasn't turning in any homework. Got to the midterm. She took the midterm exam, got an A on it. And then I posted grades, and I think she got like a D- or an F, because she didn't complete any of the homework. And I look at all your homework, your participation, and your test. And she emailed me and said, I got an A in the midterm. Shouldn't I have an A in the class? I'm like, well, you didn't do any of the work, right? And I'm going to give you kind of an interesting correlation here. We have at Gateway, our mission is to teach you the skills you need to go out into the field and work this professionally. And when you're out working, they expect you to actually do the work you're being paid for. And we expect you to do the work to earn your grade. You don't get to sail through by just doing well on a test. You have to do the functional work too. And it's really the same type of work ethic an employer expects. So I want to be really clear that you must complete the homework. The homework is not optional. And in fact, if you don't complete any homework, you also run the risk of being dropped from the class as well. But let's look at the fact that you will have weekly assignments here. Each assignment that you'll have assigned to you will come with a due date. And my typical pattern, so for example, the stuff that will be due next week will not be due prior to the start of next class. It will actually be due 2 days after. And there's kind of a strategy that I use for this. So if I assign something to you and it's due next week, if you have a problem with it or a question with it or you're stuck, chances are others are too. You can come back to class next week, ask the questions, get them answered, and still have a couple days left to get it turned in correctly without being late. That's kind of my approach. Not all teachers operate like that, so always check your due dates carefully and try to get stuff in. If you miss the due date and you turn in the assignment, you will start to see a little bit of point reduction depending on how late it is. I give people kind of a practical heads up though. A lot of the assignments you'll see will be due like Thursday at 11:59 p.m. I assure you, I'm not sitting there at midnight on Friday waiting to grade your work. That's not happening, right? Maybe the next day, So if you miss it by a few minutes or hours or something, not a big deal. You probably won't even get a late penalty. You start to be like a day or 2 or 3 late, you definitely will. And as you get later and later, when you reach the 2-week threshold, the most you're going to earn on that assignment is half the points. Now, I'm going to argue it's still worth turning it in because points are points, and they add up. But I also have this other policy, and I'll probably remind you as we kind of go through, and this is the one I'm speaking of. If you're working on something and you're not quite done, and here's the deadline, turn in what you have. Let me know in the comments, I'm not quite done with this, but this is what I have so far. And you get 1 extra week to finish it without a late penalty. The thing is, I'm seeing that you're working on it, and that's what's important. What you'll also realize in this class is this isn't really a hard class. Being really frank about it, a lot of the stuff is just basically reading something and then answering questions. And most of them are based on opinion, frankly. So that should be really easy to do. But if I was in a programming class, that would be a huge deal, because the work is really a lot more difficult. So just be mindful of these policies. I'll remind you of them. Another one that I employ, and one that I kind of adopted from some other teachers, is I have this thing called the Get Out of Homework Free coupon. And so if you're in one of these situations where you got stuff to do and I just don't have time to do it, I'm stressing out, life is happening, you can come here to the syllabus, you can screenshot this coupon and turn it in place of the assignment to get 2 points for free for one assignment. You can only use it once, but it's just a little bit of a safety net I have built in. And you'll notice that a lot of assignments are worth 2 points. And I usually tell people, be strategic about this. If you're going to use it, it's probably better to use it towards the end of the course when all your courses are having like finals and projects and papers and and stuff rather than use it right away. I will not automatically apply the coupon. You have to ask for it. But I will remind you that you can, right? And then I keep track of it. But here it is in the syllabus, and maybe towards the end of the course, we'll revisit that. I know for many of you, especially, kind of being maybe new to Gateway or new, studying and working on a degree or whatever, as you've heard me say many times, life happens when you're a student. It happens to instructors too. And here's what I mean by it. I've had semesters where people have had like deaths, births, tragic illness, car accidents, house fires, blah, 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 blah. Things happen in people's lives, and sometimes horrible things. And, sometimes when it rains, it pours, I lost my job, my house set on fire, my dog ran away, and my girlfriend left me. You can write a country song about it or something. And that doesn't mean that you have to give up. So if something really bad happens and you're thrown off course, the most important thing that you're going to do is let us know what's going on, right? Because if I know that you're in a situation, I will try to find a way to help you through. And one of those ways is in some cases giving you an incomplete. And I have many, many examples of this. And one real bizarre example, I had one lady diagnosed with cancer, her house caught on fire, and she got in a wicked car accident all in the same week, right? You can imagine. And it was the second last week of the semester. She was a great student. Fortunately, she remembered that she should reach out and she'd let me know. And so what we did is we gave her extra time to finish the coursework and not have to pay for the course again and take it again. And so that is a possibility. It is not offered automatically, right? So there has to be, certain types of situations and circumstances, and you can read the details of it here. Basically, you have to be a student in good standing, and you have to communicate with me, and we can make some sort of an arrangement for you. In terms of the grading, and we'll get into this more when we're in the course shell, every assignment will have a listing of what is expected of you. So I will, in general, say, this is your task, make sure you do this, this, and that, and turn it in like this, and here's the due date. And basically, if you turn in your work on time, do what you're supposed to do, you're pretty much going to get full points for the assignment. I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer. And if you're in that situation, you're doing your work well, and you're getting all the points, I will very rarely comment on it. I might go, nice work, or great job, excellent, or something like that. Now, if it is late, or you didn't do it right, or heck, you didn't even do it, then you're going to count on the fact that you're going to see probably, many sentences or paragraphs even of comments about what you should do and how to do it. And in many cases, I do give you the opportunity, like if you didn't hit the mark, to fix it, resubmit it, and still get the points. To me, what's important here isn't to employ a punitive approach to grading. Hey, you missed it, too bad. It's really more important for me that you actually learn the stuff somehow, even if you lose a couple points because it's late. But it's more important to understand, to me. You need to be careful with that, though. As you take classes with other instructors, or if you're in a different program. So let's say you're in nursing. Okay, so in nursing, let's say you have an assignment, and you're supposed to turn it in, and you miss the assignment. They might just turn the assignment off. You can't even turn it in late. They won't even let you. So sorry, patient's dead. And see, but that's the difference between working in a healthcare field and then working in IT, or maybe training to be a police officer or an emergency medical technician, where you get one chance. And if you don't hit the chance, well, that's too bad. Person's dead, or thing blew up, or whatever happened. In IT, it's not like that. We have Control Z, right? Does anybody know what Control Z is?
Undo.
It's undo, right? Copy, paste, undo, redo. That's what we have in IT. So I don't consider IT necessarily as critical in some cases. So we tend to be a little bit more lenient. Other disciplines are not. Some IT instructors, though, are pretty strict. I'm not going to name them by name, but they have their reasons where the due date passes, assignment gets turned off, tough luck, see you next semester. It's kind of like that. But you know, in my opinion, that's not how I run a class, especially a class like this. You can always turn in the work no matter how late it is, but once it's more than 2 weeks late, remember half the points. And it doesn't take a genius. If you turn in everything that late, there's no way you're going to pass the class. So you got to like strive to be on time. Okay. All right. And let's move on to the key dates for the course. And then we're nearly done with the syllabus here, folks, by the way. And then we will take a break if you guys are getting antsy in your seats. First of all, the class day and time, you guys obviously know when to be here because here you are, the ones that are in the Zoom session. We will meet regularly Tuesdays from 12:50 to 4:50. The face-to-face section of this group is fairly small, and per Gateway policies, we technically fall into what we call a directed study of 5 students for the face-to-face, which means we can shorten our time as we see fit, or in some cases, maybe not have class sessions. That is not my plan. But if I manage to get through all the stuff we need to get through and we finish at like 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock, okay, we're done. We got it, right? And then other days, and today might be one of those, we might use every minute and maybe even spill over, and sometimes that happens. If learning's happening, I'm going to keep rolling, and that's kind of my approach. Of course, for the fully online people, meetings are not required. The course starts today, June 22nd, and ends on August 10th. That's the end of the semester. And I will be posting grades for this class probably on the evening or afternoon of August 11th, if you're keeping track. If you choose to drop from the course and plan to have any sort of like refund, like let's say, hey, you know what, I'm not going to do this, I'm out of here. You can drop up through June 30th, which is basically a little over a week away, and still receive some sort of prorated refund. My hope is that you don't. If you are not voluntarily withdrawing from the class and not doing any work, I may drop you between this time period. So between July 1st and 7th, if I notice that you're not signing into Blackboard, you're not doing your stuff, I'll email you to try to get a hold of you. And if you don't respond, I'm going to drop you. Now, I will say that the whole time I've been here at Gateway, I've only done that once, and I hope that pattern continues. There's the midterm grade date list is non-applicable, by the way. And the reason for that is midterm grades for regular students are posting this Friday. So our summer semester actually started May 10th. So we're actually already halfway through the semester. So people who are in my other IT and business section have their midterm exam this week. It's happening. And then I will post their midterm grades. We will still have a midterm exam, but we will not have midterm grades at post because, we're just starting. So it's not fair to grade you for midterm since we're just starting. If you choose to voluntarily withdraw from the course, you don't want to do it, you don't want to finish out, you have up until July 30th to do so. And I want to explain an important distinction between withdrawals and drops. And basically the difference is this. When you drop from a course voluntarily, you will get a W on your transcript. But if you miss this drop date and you just, I can't drop anymore, I'm just not going to do any more work, what's going to end up on your transcript probably is an F, because that's the grade that you earned. And that stays part of your permanent college record. Now, if you're in the course and you see that you're kind of headed for that cliff of like, I'm failing, and you really don't want to do this, if you withdraw formally by the 30th, you can make that a W and then come back and take the course. And there's no negative impact on your grade point average either, if you choose to do that. So just keep that in mind. If you think you're going to get an F, withdraw. More importantly, talk to your teacher first. But I think that's a helpful date. All right. I'm going to move on here. Next section is the academic calendar. We're going to look at this once again inside of Blackboard. It's posted there as well. I'm not always a huge fan of getting too much detail on academic calendars because some class sessions go faster than others and sometimes the dates shift. But this is my rough plan for this semester. And what you're going to notice here is that, we have basically 8 weeks, and it shows what we're doing each week, what we're covering, and then what is due the following session. Now, I will tell you that the 8-week format is kind of unusual. So some of this might adjust a little bit because I kind of did this pretty hurriedly, but this should be fairly accurate. But as you can see, it shows that we're going through the entire book, covering every chapter and all the appendixes at the back, including a web appendix that isn't part of the book. And those are all readings that you have to do. But the week of this would be days of class, and then the week number. And so, as you can see, for today, the plan is to do the introduction to the course, hello, and to start covering materials from chapter 1 to kind of get us rolling into the pattern, showing you how to do article reflections, introducing each other, talking about hardware, et cetera, et cetera. And we usually have lots of stuff to talk about. But this is our rough guide, but the exact due dates will always be the ones listed in Blackboard. As you can see, there are no exact due dates listed here. It's just kind of in general. But the stuff that we cover 1 week is usually due the next for homework. All right. The next section of the syllabus, this is what I call kind of like our boilerplate syllabus part. So like from here on down, this appears on every syllabus at Gateway. These are basically college policies that are all detailed in your student handbook. And anywhere that you see like these titles underlined in red like this, and you notice like my pointer changes, those are all links to the official policy in the student handbook if you really want to read it. In general, don't cheat or plagiarize. Don't do drugs or drink on campus. You know, these are common sense things, right? Show up to class. Don't bring a gun. You know, don't search for porn on our network. Don't rip people off. You know, so I'm just kind of very quickly paraphrasing. I'm hoping you guys are finding it funny, but I'm not seeing that humor. And I would encourage you just to read through these. I'm not going to cover each one. I could spend hours talking about each one. The thing that I will mention, though, and I kind of jumped over it really quickly, is this one entry, support and disability services. Because we are a technical college and we're funded by, you know, the populace of our 3-county area, we have excellent support services. And here's what I mean by support services. If you're hard of hearing, or you're blind, or you have cognitive issues or emotional issues or whatever, you don't have money to get a computer, whatever it is, we have services in place that can help you. And you have to reach out, though, and that's one of the biggest challenges for people, is admitting that they have an issue and then asking for help. One thing that's kind of bundled under this area is also tutoring. And I tell my students as they come in to these IT programs, tutoring is a service that Gateway offers at all the major campuses, so Racine, Kenosha, and Elkhorn. And you can set up appointments with tutors on any discipline that you're studying. And for IT, we have several of our former graduates that work for the tutoring center. So these are students that have taken the same courses you guys are taking, have had us as instructors and done our assignments, and really know their stuff. And sometimes, you know, students get maybe embarrassed to talk to the instructor for help. And I get that, you know. You can tell I'm very intimidating, right? and I laugh about it. But some people do get intimidated, and I don't fault that. You know, I get it. But the tutors are really cool people. They've been through what you've been through, and they're always there. And there's no embarrassment in going to get help if you're not getting it. And sometimes maybe it isn't the topics you're not getting. Maybe you're not getting how to turn in your homework, or what the heck is he asking for? You know. And they do offer tutoring in just about every discipline. Probably the most popular things at the tutoring center are math and IT, by the way, because those are ones that people do struggle with. But I've seen great results from people that go and visit the tutors regularly, and then see the result of it and go, oh my God, they went from like not knowing how to right click to the writing code, you know. And so as funny as, you know, not knowing how to right click sounds, I do get people like that. Not that many anymore, but there was a time. And so don't be afraid to ask for help. We have excellent support services. They cost nothing, and they are confidential on top of it. But what I've seen from people that go to tutoring regularly is huge improvements in how they do their work. And that to me is important. All right, so this syllabus was delivered to you here on June 22nd of 2021. And the next step in this process, and then we'll take the break that I promised you, is to go back to our course shell. And then you will notice here on the left-hand side of your screen, there is this link that says discussion board. I'd like you to click on that link, and right at the top there, there is a discussion board forum that says syllabus acknowledgement. What I'd like you to do is each of you to go in there, create a thread in the forum, and acknowledge that you've received the syllabus and that you've read it and you understand it. And I'll give you an example just so you know how to do it. So you go into the forum, and of course, I'm the first one, and you'll see up here at the top of the window where there's this button. You can't really tell it's a button until you hover over it, and it says create thread. So you click that, and I'm just going to type, syllabus, whatever. And that's what it is. And then just type me a really quick message in the box here that says, I have read and understand the syllabus, spelled correctly. Let's strike 2. And I will obey. No. Just say that you've read. You read and understand the syllabus is adequate. Okay, I'm glad to see now you guys are smiling, and that's really a good place to end the video here. And then once you're all done, make sure you hit the submit button, and then what will happen is it'll pop up in the forum. And here's my my thing with the syllabus. If you do not acknowledge the syllabus here, I will not grade any of your work. So you must acknowledge the syllabus, so I know that you understand, and then I will grade your work. And so you do get a point for doing this. So once you have it posted here, I will issue 1 point. So you're already on your way towards that 100 points. Right? Given the fact that we're a solid hour in and we've covered the syllabus now, I'm going to end this video here. And then we're going to take a 5-minute break. So it's 2:01 right now. We're going to come back at like 2:06, 2:07. So step away, get a drink, go to the bathroom, do what you need to do. And then come back on and we will continue. But the recording ends here. And I'll see you guys in a